Hey, hi, hello everybody. Welcome back to not a Fizzcast. This is not a Fizzcast. This is just a video. Crazy, right? I mean, I don't even know how to intro for that. Welcome to an episode of I'm doing stuff on the channel. Very cool. All right. New mic placement. Voice a little raspy, so I still gonna hope it goes well. But hey, this is an idea I've had for a little bit. I'm making a tier list of general human qualities. Whoa, right? And I've only included 12 because I would literally be here for hours if I divided each of these into subgenres of stuff like that. And like I was going to divide physical strength into being weak and being strong and being average and every single thing like that. And that would just be wow, that'd be a ways to go and I don't want to do that. So we are just going to go ahead and work with what we got. I use Opera GX, which is a very nice browser. If you don't use it, I would absolutely recommend it. Not sponsored, but whatever. I use Opera GX, and I have the option to force dark pages, which is really nice, but sometimes it messes with the colors. So this here is normally a lighter pink. You know what the normal colors are for these, stuff like that. And normally the website's white and stuff. But I like this. It's easier on the eyes. I think it's easier to watch. So yes, here we go. All right, I'm just going to go from here to there, guiding each one, giving a little input, and just kind of seeing how I do. I have no script for this. I have no idea how this is going to go. I have no idea how long this is going to be, if this is even going to be one part, because I still can't upload videos longer than 15 minutes. But I guess we'll see how it goes. All right. All right, start with sight, I guess. Sight. I think sight is very high tier. I think these sort of like general emotions, I don't know if it's top tier because obviously everything here could just be top tier, but I'm going to really try and think about this. Sight, I'm going to put it in A tier because I know plenty of people who are blind and still, well, I mean, I guess not know, but I know of plenty of people who are blind and still make it very well out in the world. One such example being, of course, the very first person I can not think of. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing such an amazing, fantastical blank right now. Oh my gosh, what's his name? I can't even think of it right now. He's a musician. He he wrote Happier Than the Morning Sun and Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder. That's his name. His name's Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is blind and has a phenomenal record of music and an absolutely amazing musical talent and has written amazing, amazing songs, plays like 65 instruments. So, I mean, absolutely. Sight is very cool and whatever. But when you think about it, look, how many people wear glasses? I might actually move it to B. I'm going to move it to B. How many people wear glasses or contacts and function normally? I guess if you really think about it, it's like sight is when you have assisted sight and you want sight to be like available, but a lot of people on this earth do not have perfect sight and they still make it and they do well. So I figured, all right, yeah, mid sight, mid tier. We'll see about the other things. All right. Emotional strength. Emotional strength, I feel like, is S tier. Straight up S tier. Emotional strength is something that a lot of people nowadays, I think, don't have the ability to nurture. Even if a lot of people have it and you start out with it, because I feel like ignorance is a very strong part of emotional strength. Because if you just kind of blow off anything that would ordinarily make you have that influx of emotions, then you don't experience it. That's the long and short of it. Like kids, like really young kids, not just children in general, but like really young, grade kindergarten 1, etc. I feel like they have a very high level of emotional strength and emotional tolerance because they're ignorant. They don't have to pay attention to the horrible things of the world. And they don't. And so you see them, they're happy, it's carefree. That's why it's childhood and stuff like that. But I think as it goes on, it's very hard to maintain that level of emotional strength while being able to move away from ignorance. Ignorance is not a bad thing by all means, of course. It's something that should be embraced from time to time, of course, like a lot of things happening in the media or a lot of things happening in just darker parts of the world, even darker parts of the lives of your life and stuff like that. I mean, of course, it can be used sparingly, and when it is used, it can be very powerful. But it is that emotional strength, being able to reject that ignorance and fully take on some sort of emotional issue and be able to walk away from it unscathed or slightly scathed, I suppose. That is an incredible human trait. I think that is a very, very powerful thing to have, because not only is emotional strength something that is powerful to be able to keep your own mental health intact, but the mental health of those around you can be improved if you yourself have that extremely powerful emotional strength. So very much an S tier. Intelligence. Intelligence can be divided into two categories, is what I'm thinking. There's book smart and street smart, of course, which I'm sure you've heard before. Now, in that mind, I'm going to put intelligence in A tier, because I feel like it's sort of something that is weird. It's a weird case. Intelligence, the difference between book smart and street smart is book is very factual. Book is on paper. It's in theory. It's if this happened, then sure. And obviously there have been experiments performed that prove that stuff, but it's theories and laws and I don't know, and stuff like that. And it's that very logical, very, oh, this should be how it goes sort of thinking. And then there's street smart. Street smart is what I sort of think of as, I've done this before, this is how it's going to go, because this is exactly how it went before. So street smart is like, there are no assumptions. There's no room for assumption. This is exactly what's going to happen, and I know it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen this way. And it's stuff like that. That I feel like falls under intelligence. And it's like yin and yang. There's an amount of street smart in book smart and book smart in street smart. And it's finding the balance of that too, where you find a truly smart person, where they understand that not everything is exactly as it is on paper. There is room for error, but in that room for error, you can find better results and stuff like that. But I think intelligence is A tier because it is not like raw, unadulterated intelligence is not necessary to make it in this world. And especially if that intelligence specifically comes from a higher education or a high school diploma or whatever like that. That's not necessary. It's nice. By all means, it's nice, sure. But it is absolutely not necessary, which is why it is an A, because it's very powerful. It has a lot of uses. It's very flexible, but it is not something that is needed. Size. Now I'm going to take size as just kind of height, weight, muscle mass. That's what I'll take it as. And I think size is C tier. Size really doesn't matter. It's there. It helps you reach the top shelf sometimes. Helps you push some other people around, or makes you come out on top when you're roughhousing with somebody. But size is really. I'm only putting it in C because it does somewhat matter. The size of, like, I want to say when I said muscle mass is good to have, because it can help you in a pretty large chunk of scenarios. Being stronger, being stuff like that is. I mean, that could go into physical strength too, which I guess I won't discount that. But size in general is just like something that is good to have, but absolutely not necessary. It is not necessary to be huge. It's not necessary to be tiny. There's a million different scenarios where either thing can play out correctly. So it's C. It's somewhere because it's not really like, everyone wants to be 6'4", I guess, but it's not necessary. Memory. Memory, 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 memory is B tier. Memory is B tier. I myself don't have a great memory. I have a good memory for very specific things. I have a phenomenal memory for even more specific things, like randomly remembering someone's face from 2 years ago and the exact conversation I had when I met them for no reason, really. But when it comes to, doing chores or remembering deadlines and stuff like that, it's horrendous. I mean, I'll try and work on that and make it better, but that's just how it is for me. I think that's not to say that my decision is biased, though. I think memory is mid. It's pretty much middle of the road because it's cool to have. Eidetic memories are all cool. Being able to recite long words like numer ultra microscopic silico volcanoconosis off the top of your head is also really cool sometimes. But how useful really is it? Memory is good, but you can set yourself reminders. You can use sticky notes. You can use all these other sort of resources to use that memory. And so if you can store everything in your head, cool. But if you can't, there's other resources. So it's mid. Beauty. C. Beauty is C. Beauty is C because beauty is only skin deep. I'm a very firm believer in that statement. And that's not because I think I'm ugly or anything or that I resent people who are beautiful. It's nothing to do with a complex like that, no. It's just, I've seen it happen too many times where people rely on their looks to get through life and it doesn't work, and that's really not that surprising. Of course, everyone looks around and, there are beautiful people, but that doesn't mean that what you look like on the outside is what makes you a beautiful person. And so that's why I think it's C. Again, it's one of those things where, sure, it's nice to have. If you do have it, go ahead. Use it. Flaunt it. I don't know. Have a good time with it. But if you don't, it's not necessary. It's not something that absolutely needs to be in your life. That needs to be a part of your personality. Here we go. Morality, S tier. Easy S. Absolutely easy S. Morality, I think, is one of the most important human qualities to have. And of course, it's one of those things where it's not an SS because it's not a perfect quality because humans aren't perfect. That's just what it is. There's no perfect qualities. But I think morality is a very, very high-seated thing to have. A good moral compass makes a good person. And of course, there's sayings like, good people don't make good kings. But I personally think that morality is a very high trait to have. Depravity is an amazingly toxic thing that has been absolutely present in this world for a very long time and continues to corrupt so many things that fall below the people who are depraved. It's painful. I mean, just look over in places of the world where the people, like high-ranking people, are completely depraved, have no morality. They're only greedy. They're only out for themselves and those around them to further their own situation, no matter the consequences of what happens below them. That is horrible. It's horrendous. And morality isn't so much S tier because it's a necessary thing to have, so much as it's a necessary thing. I mean, it's not a necessary thing. So much as if you didn't have it, it's so much worse than even if you have a speck of it. And I think a lack of all morality is horrendous, but being defined by morality is beautiful, I think. It's wonderful. It's what creates good people. I think good people are the thing that make the world go round. Morality, absolute S tier. Independence. I remember making this one. Independence, I think... independence is hard. I'm going to put it a B, I think. That might move. But independence, let's see. Not having to rely on anybody else, I think, is a nice trait to have. It's B because it's somewhat necessary, I guess. But like for the first part of your life, you have to rely on someone else to help you live. And that could be the very early part of your life. And I feel like most people, for the first, general term is 18 years. That first 18 years, you have to rely on someone else. Some people are not lucky enough to have that first 18 years covered. Some people aren't lucky enough to have the first 7, and it's horrendous. But I think that independence is what can make or break a person, I think. But still somehow it ends up in B. Maybe A. Now that I've said that. That independence, that will to fight for yourself, that will to be your own person, that's going to be A. That absolute driving force that, because it can lead you to motivate yourself to put you in a better position. And that may sound like greed. It may sound greedy at first, but it's not. Because greed just comes from you already having what you want more of. Independence can come from nothing. Independence can come from absolute the bottom of the barrel, and yet you still have that drive to further your own position because you want it. You have the power and the ability to get it. So I think an independence is good because it can lead to It can lead to a flawless segue into my other thing, willpower. I think willpower is S tier. Independence can lead to willpower, and willpower is what can lead you to do anything that you well please. I think willpower is a phenomenally powerful trait because it is literally the driving force behind everything that we do. Willpower, it's what gets you out of bed in the morning. It is what, drives you to create things. It's what drives you to better yourself, better those around you. It's what drives you to help people. It's what drives you to help yourself. It's what drives you to go out into the world and make a difference. Willpower, I think, is extremely, extremely top tier. Very, very high tier. I wonder if I can move it over here. Whoop, I can't. Look at that. Willpower, very much a high tier quality. And that's great. All right. Fashion sense, D. It's on here because I didn't have any other ideas. It's nice to have, always fun, but absolutely not necessary. Clothes choices, even people that are phenomenally rich and have access to all of the fashion in the world don't have the greatest fashion sense, even though they think they do, but no, we all know they don't. We in the normal world. Yeah, D tier. Might be the only D tier on this list. Maybe not. Willingness to learn, A tier. I think willingness to learn is very strong because willingness to learn is so much to say as the ability to admit when you're wrong, admit your own faults, and that's a very powerful trait to have. Because if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to understand that you got something wrong, but there is room to improve, there is literally no limit to what you can do, or how far you can go in something. If you're willing to learn from those who are better than you instead of getting jealous or spiteful or rageful because you are unable to do as well as they can, then you're going to get a lot farther, and it's going to help you significantly just because you are willing to set down your pride and learn from it and improve and go farther. And that's really just a good thing to have. Solid A tier. Smell. Let's see smell. B. Mid. Smell is mid. Smells really nice. Without your nose, you wouldn't be able to taste anything, which is trouble, I guess. But we'll get to taste when we get there, because it'll kind of link into that. But smell is mid. It's kind of one of those things, If I didn't have it, sure, I'd be really sad. But is it absolutely necessary for me to, be a good person, for me to go far in the world? I don't really think so. Because, right, you smell really good food. You can, look forward to the smell of the fly, stop by and smell the roses. But then, when you walk into bathrooms and you wish you couldn't smell anything, or stuff like that. I mean, it's all right. It's mid, whatever. Humor is another mid tier, which is interesting that I'm putting it with sight and smell. Humor is a very large part of my life. I really enjoy being funny. I love being surrounded by funny people. I enjoy funny content, and I enjoy all that stuff. I enjoy the wacky crazies of the world and the humor. But I think more importantly, humor is a very strong coping mechanism. Because you hear a lot of comedy that comes from a lot of really dark situations, but it's a way to take those dark situations and make light of them. And I think humor is a very good medium through which you can do that. Humor, if you can take a joke and if you can be lighthearted about everything, it just makes it easier. It's easier on your heart, easier on stress, easier on your life. And I think humor is a very, very powerful trait to have, right up there with sight and smell. Again, if you don't have a sense of humor, you can Look forward to it. I mean, you can still look forward to other things. If you don't have an all-encompassing sense of humor, if it's very narrow and you only find a few things funny, sure, fine, that's all right. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways to do things, because of course there are. But yeah, it's just a good thing to have. Talent. C. Talent is C tier. And let me explain. Talent is not necessary to develop a skill. Not at all. Of course, having that head start is always fun. It's always fine. But that doesn't mean that you're restricted to this one medium because you have a talent for it. And additionally, it doesn't mean that it cuts off any other medium because you can't seem to pick it up instantly. Like, how many tone deaf people have learned to sing? I know a person who started this year in choir, absolutely tone deaf, and now they're a state level singer because they worked for it. They wanted it. And that's the long and short of it. If you work for it, no matter how talented you are at one thing, you can become as good as you want. That's why talent is C tier. Not necessary, good to have. It's a nice head start, but it is absolutely not something that is required for anything. Health. A tier. Health is A tier. Who doesn't want to be healthy? Diseases suck. Joint pain sucks. Stuff like that. Being in pain all the time. Mental health. Physical health. Very, 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 very important. I wouldn't say S tier because it's not like a driving force of anything, but it is very high tier. And of course, everyone gets sick. Everyone gets sick from time to time. You've had our sore throats and stuffy noses and head colds and seasonal allergies. So everyone gets sick. Health can't be a permanent thing. And of course, as life goes on, it's more liable to get sick. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But, it's just how it goes. And so, excuse me. But there's people who are not perfectly healthy still living good lives, still doing amazing things. So I think it's very high tier, not completely necessary, but definitely something that you want a lot. Friendliness. Now, the answer will differ depending on the type of person that you ask. Me personally, I'm going to put friendliness up here between A and B. It's between A and B. I think I'm going to put it at B. And I'm going to say that because I think friendliness is very important. It's very important to be approachable. It's very important to, have that person or be that person that can talk to anyone, who can make friends with anyone, who anyone can open up to. And it's a way to build a ton of relationships, have a ton of connections. Yeah, we're just going to do that. I think friendliness is something that everyone should strive for. You should strive to be that person who can make those relationships and build those relationships with anybody where it's trustworthy either way. I think it's very, very important. Friendliness is not to say being naive, because those two tend to get associated a lot, where people get blinded by the potential good in someone or something and don't see what they've done. But I believe that it's outweighed by the ability to have anyone reach out to you and you be the person who's able to help. I think friendliness is very important. Going straight in A tier. Touch. I think you can kind of see the pattern I'm going here. It's important. Of course, I'm going to find some long-winded way to say important but not necessary. But, it's important but not necessary. Textures are great. Textures are nice. But, there's always going to be those negatives of oh, but what if I touch something that I hate the feeling of? But what if I touch something that I love the feeling of? Like slime that I made in first grade with, everyone else out of glue and baking soda. Or, what if it's hand warmers or being, warm, being cold, stuff like that. That's touch related. But again, I don't know if it's a very high tier thing. I just think it's something that is good to have. But if you don't have it, I don't know how many things it gets in the way of that prevents you from doing a wide array of things that are important, I guess. No offense, I guess, to anybody. But you know what I mean. It's something like that. Taste, bingo. Oh, whoopsie, bingo, right back there in B. And sight, smell, touch, taste. I think we have one more. Yep, hearing. I might as well just put it up there right now because all those I think are mid. Again, what I've said, deaf people, there's a million things they can still do. Of course, they're limited, but you can still, they are limited, but it does, again, you know what I said with, willingness to learn and willpower goes with that. Limited, but that doesn't mean that you're restricted. It just means it's going to be a little harder to get there. You know that, I mean, I don't know anyone who's deaf, so I might be a little bit biased on it, but both of my parents are hard of hearing. My grandparents are hard of hearing. Um, and so I can understand where, like, hearing would be important, but again, not something that I think is super necessary. I'll probably organize this in, like, a way, because I think sight is above hearing, memory, humor is above smell, touch is above smell, taste is above smell. That's probably a good order for it. Because I mean, I think some of the greatest things in life are seeing it. I'm a very big music fan. These two are probably the same. They're very interchangeable, but um, hearing some of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life is the songs and stuff. Being able to remember the things that you can see and hear, laughing at the things that you remember, and stuff like that. It just as going down. They're all related, but I think that's a good order for it. Height. Boop. See another pattern? C tier. I think height's cool to have. Again, if you're 6'4", good for you. If you're 5'4", also good for you. I mean, it's really not. There's still a million other things that you can do. Being certain height opens up, different gateways to doing different things, but it doesn't mean that, like, you can't. Again, you might be limited, but you're not restricted. It's a nice to have sometimes. It's not nice to have other times. Not necessary. Moving on. Speed. Now, I might put speed in B. Speed is a physical trait, but I think I might put speed in B because it's sort of that. It kind of gonna take a random jump from going like, oh, it doesn't matter, to fight or flight or life or death, because I think speed is an incredibly powerful trait to have, where if you are fast, if you can run away from something, it literally could mean the difference between life and death. But the odds of you being in that life and death scenario are slim to none. So that's why it's in B, because it could be the difference between life or death, but that scenario isn't going to come by very often. I don't know how often people have been mauled by bears or chased by people with similarly negative intentions. But I think speed's important. Speaking voice, I'm totally biased. Singing voice, I'm totally biased. I'm just kidding. I'll go over that. I think speaking voice, nah. Singing voice, I think I'm going to say B for singing voice and C for speaking voice. Again, if you have a nice speaking voice, which, hopefully you think I do, it's cool. It's just another thing to have, another thing to add to your collection, another one of your talents and stuff. But it's not something that's necessary. That's it. It's cool to have, but singing voice is something different, however. I think a beautiful singing voice trumps most things that are like of that sort of physical qualities. A beautiful singing voice is something that can convey every single emotion. The only language that this entire world speaks is music. Anyone on this planet listening to music can understand what is happening. It can convey all emotions. It can convey messages across languages. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I think a singing voice, a very good singing voice, is something that can be used to communicate anywhere, anything, at all times. I think it's B tier because, again, you can make music without a singing voice, but I think it's something that if you have it, greatly increases your ability to, go about things. And that brings us to our very last one, physical strength. I'm going to kind of put that up with that B tier where it kind of goes along with speed. Physical strength is good. It's something you can protect yourself with. You can protect others with. You can do, good labor, good physical labor with it and contribute to your nearby surroundings. It can be the thing that helps you in that life or death scenario. And it just sort of goes with that. These two kind of tied together. Now, I'm going to organize them in what I think is most important. I think I already organized S tier. I think willpower is probably the most important thing because it is the sole driving force behind everything that we do. It is willpower, motivation, something. That is what it is. Because willpower can be attached to a person or an object or a faith and stuff like that, and it is what makes the world go around. Morality and emotional strength follow. Morality is very important. Not as important as willpower, but morality can guide your decisions. It's what puts you on that right path and makes you the good person. Makes you use that willpower for the greater good of those around you and yourself. Emotional strength, something very, very important to have. Definitely a top tier emotion, just because if you're able to control your emotions, you're able to control how you act and how you respond in every situation. It can help you carry yourself and carry those around you. You might notice a pattern too. I care a lot about other people. This whole list is my opinion. This is something that I think. This is influenced by my experiences, by my thoughts, by my friends, by my family, stuff like that. It is my experiences. And I care more for others than I think I could ever care for myself. And this list may or may not show that. My descriptions of the list will probably show it more. But anyway, I did not organize A tier. I think willingness to learn straight up at the top. Straight switch. There we go. Straight up at the top. Independence, another thing up there. Health, friendliness. Gonna switch those actually. I'm gonna switch these. There we go. I think that's better. Willingness to learn, top of A tier, because I think it's what can help you improve the most. Talent is not necessary, but if you are willing to learn from anybody who's better than you, you are going to skyrocket in improvement. Just set aside your pride and learn for a second that, people can be better, and that's okay. Even if someone else is better, it doesn't mean you're any less good. It just means that you have room to improve. And that's really good. Friendliness, always important to be approachable. Be that person to lean on, the shoulder to cry on, and someone to just talk with. I think that's very important. Health, of course, it's health. Be healthy. Stay healthy. Excuse me. Stay healthy, always good for you, and definitely something that you should strive for. Independence, I'm sure a lot of people, especially a younger audience, would appreciate that, but independence is very powerful as well. Strive to be your own person. Don't let anybody else tell you who you should be, all right? Be independent. Be yourself. Be your own strong person. Good job. Intelligence, book smart, street smart, balance of both is good. Stay frosty. All right, for B tier, I think I did this sort of. I'm going to put probably top of that. And then these are kind of going to stay at the bottom. So you've got singing voice for the reasons which were recent. Sight, hearing, etc. These sort of 5 core senses that go in there. Good to have, but not absolutely necessary to achieve things. Memory, important, very important, I think. But again, it's sort of mid. It's just, if you're forgetful, so what? It's a quirk of your personality. It's okay. As long as you figure out other ways around it. All right? Set alarms. Use sticky notes. They're very important. But humor. Humor is very important. Learning to take a joke. Learning to be lighthearted. Learning to make jokes out of horrible situations, and so that you can make it through it and be emotionally strong. Very important. Take a shot every time I say very important. uh, the rest are pretty much self-explanatory. C tier, size, beauty, talent, height, speaking voice. Let's see. I did not organize this, I don't think. I think talent's top of C tier because it's really nice to have. Speaking voice, mid. Height, cool. Size, cool. Beauty, cool. Speaking voice, cool. That's it. Just very Like, talent's cool. Height's cool. Like I said, it's cool. You can show it off. You can use it for certain things. But is it really necessary? No. Is it really something that you need to progress through life? No. And there's the rest of it. And then fashion sense. It sucks. It's cool to have. Some people make careers out of it, I guess. But, it's nothing even remotely necessary. It's just a personality trait. Let me know if there's anything you want me to rate in the comments. Like, if there's one specific trait, I might attribute it to a subgenre of another thing that's already on the list. But that's fine. It's cool to talk about. Leave a comment. Let me know if there's something that you want me to rate, or if there's something you want me to explain in more detail, or if you enjoyed the video, if you want me to do the same thing or something like this. Any suggestions would be super, super cool. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I feel like there's more I want to say. I feel like I don't just want to leave it on this note. But the format of this video is probably going to be a little bit different. I might have an outro. Actually, I'm probably going to work out an outro because I think that'd be nice. But yeah, cool. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'll try and think of more content like this. I think this is a very unique thing to do, and I always like doing tier lists and stuff like that, but this is very much a psychoanalysis sort of thing, and I love doing this. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Let me know anything that I've mentioned previously in the comments. Anything that I haven't mentioned, go ahead, leave a comment, drop it down below, talk to me. I'm always open. I enjoy people. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.